Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining Education USA Ukraine YouTube channel. Welcome everybody who is joining us for the first time. Welcome back to everybody who already been watching us for some time. And today we have a very interesting topic. If you ever consider to apply for a master's degree in law in the United States, you have a great opportunity today to receive answers to the questions you might have about the process, because we will discuss studying law in the United States, particularly pursuing the master's degree in law and the requirements, the application process. And I'm very pleased to introduce our guest today, Nora Wagner, the Assistant Dean for International Student Programs and Director of LL.M program at University Cincinnati College of Law, and Renata Xavier, the alumna of 2019, and Renata will actually share her own experience, and I think it will be very interesting to those of you who are still looking forward to have those experiences in your life. So, ladies, the floor is yours, and as a reminder, please leave your questions in the chat box, and we will have time for a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and the ladies will answer your questions. Nora, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you today. It's always exciting to talk to people who are beginning the journey and beginning to consider pursuing the study of law in the United States. Today, our goal is to, number one, answer your questions. But first, we'll talk a little bit about some things that you might consider as you start thinking about the path you would need to take, the steps you would need to take to begin an LL.M program in the United States. And I'm very glad that my friend and former student, Renata, is here to talk to you from the standpoint, from the perspective of someone who has lived through the experience of being an LL.M student. I think that will be very valuable to you. So what we'll do is I will present some ideas and some considerations for you. And then as I go, I will occasionally stop and give Renata a chance to chime in with anything that she thinks is particularly important for you to know based on her experience as a student and as a graduate of an American LL.M program. And at the end, of course, we'll look forward to answering as many of your questions as possible. So I'll just go ahead and jump right in then. You're beginning this journey. You're thinking about an LL.M program in the United States. If I were in your shoes, these are the types of things I would be thinking about. What's the benefit to me of doing an American LL.M? How will it help me reach my goals? And what part of the experience am I most excited about? These kinds of big picture questions will help you narrow in on the type of program you want, the type of courses you want to study, maybe the location, and eventually the individual school. Now, here's some of the things our graduates have said. I put some of these up here. I always like to keep this in front of me because it reminds me of what was so important to individual students. And of course, every student has his or her own reasons and their own factors that make them choose to do an LL.M. And then once they've done the LL.M, every student has his or her own sort of favorite parts. But you can see here some things that some of our graduates have recently said about pursuing an LL.M program in the United States. So most often what we hear is that students have enjoyed the opportunity to get to know each other, to develop a professional network, and then to use both the knowledge and the added cachet that they now have on their resume to pursue an exciting career. I suppose I should ask you here, Renata, do you have anything in particular that stands out to you as being either why you pursued an LL.M or the most important part to you when you look back on the experience?
Hi, so I would like to introduce myself first. I am Renata Xavier. I am originally from Brazil, and I used to work there with bankruptcy and corporate and litigation law. And during the day by day of my work, I normally had contact with international procedures, so I was interested in expanding my knowledge, and I that LLM was a really powerful and strong tool to get me to know better the system, how it works, to broaden my knowledge in the legal field in the United States. So I totally agree with all these things that the other students say. That is an enormous experience and changes your perspective about the law generally.
Thank you, Renata. All right, so I understand that it's also important to you today to talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the admissions process. What logistics are involved? What would you need to do to apply to an American LLM program? And so you can see on the slide here the basic elements that are required in your application to any American LLM. Of course, every university will set its own rules and expectations and requirements for their LLM admissions process, but this is what most schools ask for. And this is also what we would look for at the University of Cincinnati. So first of all, as you might expect, you're going to fill out an LLM program application. There are two different ways to do this. Some schools have their application on what we call the LSAC, or the Law School Admissions Council. This is an organization that nearly every law school in the United States is a member of. So for many American law schools, you can find their LLM application at lsac.org. However, some LLM programs will also, or instead of using LSAC, they'll have an application directly on their website. The University of Cincinnati College of Law, we offer both options. So my advice to you is to, when you've chosen some schools that you're interested in applying to, go directly to the school's website to find out how they offer their application, or where their application is located. If you're choosing the University of Cincinnati to apply, for an example, you will see on our LLM website that you can apply either through LSAC or directly through our website. An added bonus of applying directly through our website is that there is no fee. There is no application fee. So this may be a good option for you. And I'd encourage you to see if other law schools offer that type of free application as well. Now, in addition to the application form, most schools will require a credential evaluation. So this is where an American school will ask that you supply a credential evaluation, because you have to imagine, when we are receiving academic credentials, transcripts, grades, and diplomas from schools all over the world, it would be impossible for me, myself, to be an expert on schools all over the world and different countries' educational systems. So what we do is we have you send your transcripts, your grades, maybe your diploma, to a credential evaluation company to prepare a formal report. There are a number of different companies that can do this for you. My advice is to pay attention. The law school that you're applying to, which companies do they want you to use? Most American law schools will allow you to use the same LSAC organization. We at the University of Cincinnati will also accept reports from WES, the World Education Service, and ECE. So those are two other good options. I always suggest to students that they go look at those 3, LSAC, WES, and ECE.org, and find out what would be required of them, because it may depend on what country and what university you're coming from, and how much it will cost. And then choose the organization that looks simplest for your situation. Third, English proficiency. We require all students who are coming from a non-English speaking country to prove, as part of the application process, that they are proficient in the English language. And this can be a bit tedious for folks to have to take the TOEFL or take the IELTS, but it's truly in your best interest, because we want to make sure, for your sake, that you are prepared and you are ready to start your law studies in English. The better your English is, the more you will get out of your classes and the LL.M experience. So different schools, different American schools, will accept different English proficiency tests, but the 2 most popular are IELTS and TOEFL. Number 4 is your personal statement. This is your chance to tell the admissions committee a little bit about yourself. So my suggestion here is keep it pretty simple. Some students worry a lot about the personal statement. I don't think you need to worry too much about it. Think of 1 or 2 things you would want to tell, imagine me, 1 or 2 things you would want to tell me about yourself. Something about your background, and maybe something about why you want to pursue an LL.M. Be authentic, be genuine, show us who you really are. What do you want to do with this LL.M? Because when I read that personal statement, I'll get to know a little bit about you, and it will help with the admissions decision, but it will also help me when I start working with you to help you make choices about what classes you would want to take or what experiences you would want to have as part of your overall LL.M program. So if I know that you're interested in, let's say, business law, then we can start talking even during the admissions process about what Cincinnati law offers in the way of a business law curriculum and experience. Maybe you tell me that you're interested in criminal law. Well, then as soon as I talk to you, I'm going to make sure you know about our Ohio Innocence Project, which is a clinic that law students, including LL.Ms, can be involved in, working side by side practicing attorneys. The interesting part of this clinic is that what they do is they work to free wrongly incarcerated individuals, people who have been put in prison and didn't do the crime. That's just one example. So your personal statement is very important, not just from an admission standpoint, but also because then in our conversations, you can get a better sense of whether or not my school is a good fit for you. So you want to keep asking the admissions officers these questions so you can make a good choice for yourself. All right, a CV or resume. This is pretty straightforward. This is going to give everybody on the admissions committee a quick and easy glimpse at who you are and what you've done. Number 6, letters of recommendation. At Cincinnati, we ask for 2 letters of recommendation, but we keep it pretty easy. You can have folks email it to us directly, or if you have a letter, you can forward it to us. So my suggestion here for letter of recommendation is to ask people who know you in a professional or an academic setting. So could be someone you've worked with or worked for, could be a professor. They should be able to say something about who you are as a professional and, that they think that you will do a wonderful job in a US LLM program, maybe they could even comment on your English skills. The letters can be short. A couple of paragraphs, in my view, is perfectly sufficient. When you ask for a letter of recommendation, if it's someone you haven't talked to in a little while, it's a good idea to share your resume with that person and to, when you send them an email asking them to write the letter, to remind them a little bit about yourself and give some suggestions of things they might want to talk about in their letter. So those are the basic components of an LLM application. Renata, do you have anything you want to add or any suggestions about how you approached this when you were applying?
So, through my experience, I didn't use the first point. I didn't use LSAC because I was pretty sure that it wanted to apply only to UC law. So I think the LSAC will be like a more useful for those that are applying for a bunch of different courses, so you don't need to go through all the paperwork again. I think is this. I totally agree that the proficient test is more like for the student than from school, because it's really important for you to have a good level of English before starting the course, so you can follow the classes. And in my case, I did a score, but even getting the score for the TOEFL, I did like a month of English in campus before, which was really helpful. UC has this option that you can come and do like an English course, so I felt more confident before starting the classes. And I think is everything that I would add regarding to the letters of recommendation. I remember that like some schools, they want to like one professional, another one academic. Some of them they only two. Doesn't matter if it's academic or professional. So just pay attention what kind of letter of recommendation the school is requiring.
Thank you, Renata. One
Mm-hmm.
other thing I'll say about this is keep in mind, we have students who apply to the LLM program. Sometimes you might be coming straight from your undergraduate degree in law. That's okay. So if you don't have a lot of professional experience, you haven't worked as an attorney yet, as a lawyer, that's okay. That's fine. Now, some LLM students will have worked as a lawyer for a while and then choose to pursue an LLM. That's okay too. So don't worry too much about the when we talk about a CV or a resume. If your resume is short still, that's okay. All right, so moving on from talking about the admissions process, let's talk a little bit more about the things you might want to keep in mind as you start looking for an LLM program that is right for you. First of all, do you want a program that has a narrow focus or a broad focus? In the United States, there are two different types of LLM programs. The first type are LLMs that have a specific content focus. For example, an LLM in tax law or an LLM in intellectual property law or any other specific area. The second type is what some people call a general LLM, something that has a broader focus. And this, I think, is the type of LLM you're most likely interested in. Some schools call it an LLM in American law. We call it an LLM in US law. So the way this type of program works is usually you take a couple of required classes. At UC, it's a US legal research and writing class and a introduction to US law class. That's the one that I teach. So all LLM students take both of those classes. But beyond that, Students choose courses that are right for them. So we have some students who are more interested in, as I said, criminal law, some human rights, some business, some intellectual property. So within this LLM in US law, students can choose their own focus area. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing to look at and think about for yourself is, are you interested in a large program? You know, there are some US law schools that have LLM programs with 100 or more students, and they may have big classes with lots of students in them. There are other programs, more like the University of Cincinnati, to use ourselves as an example, where the LLM program is fairly small. So for example, we target anywhere from 15 to 25 students in our LLM program every year. And our classes are fairly small. So that US legal system class that I teach will only have maybe 20 students in it. Another thing to keep in mind is what you want to include in your LLM year. Are you most interested in purely classroom-based work? Or are you interested in being involved in a legal clinic or a work experience opportunity like an internship? So if you're hoping to be involved in a clinic or an internship, something outside of the classroom, make sure you find out whether or not the LLM program you're looking at makes those available to LLM students. This is a very important question and something you would want to ask during the early on in the admissions process. Okay, cost. It's never the favorite thing to talk about the price of an LLM program, but Renata and I talked, and I know that it's an important practical consideration. So we're going to spend a few minutes talking about the expenses associated with an LLM program. All right, so first of all, as I'm sure you already know, university education in the United States is extraordinarily expensive. I know this personally. I went to school here, and I have 3 children of my own who will be going to college in the next few years. Not looking forward to it. LLM tuition varies wildly at US law schools. So from what I could see online, LLM tuition ranges from, say, $24,000 a year to more than $65,000 at some universities. That's tuition. You also need to keep in mind what we call the total cost of attendance. So on top of tuition, obviously you will have living expenses. The money that you need to spend on housing, food, books, transportation, and all American law schools will require you to have health insurance. Another thing that is very expensive in the United States. So what I put up on this slide for your consideration is details about the cost at the University of Cincinnati, because of course that's the only school that I can speak to with any confidence. So I'm just putting this here as by way of an example. Our LLM tuition is about $29,000 for 1 year. Our living expenses are estimated at about $20,000. I will say, and we'll see what Renata has to say about this, that most students don't spend $20,000 on their living expenses. Cincinnati is actually one of the most affordable major cities in the United States. So when you're looking at schools, you'll want to look and see what their tuition is, but you'll also want to look and see what they estimate for living expenses. Because of course, if you're going to live in a city like New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, those cities are much more expensive in terms of your apartment and other living expenses. Whereas a city like Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, those cities in the Midwest are much less expensive when it comes to living expenses. Scholarships. Some LLM programs will offer scholarships that are essentially a discount, something that will bring down the cost of your tuition. At the University of Cincinnati, we guarantee that every LLM admitted student who asks us for a scholarship will be awarded a partial scholarship. So if you tell me you want to be considered for a scholarship and you are admitted to our LLM program, we will offer you a scholarship that is a discount on your tuition to bring down that cost a little bit. Similarly, we offer something that are called fellowships. Other schools might do this too. So for us, right now, we have fellowships available in international human rights and criminal law. So a fellowship means that you will be awarded a 50% tuition reduction, and you will also then have a very concrete opportunity to work with our centers. So in this case, our International Human Rights Institute and our criminal law clinic, if you're a criminal law fellow. That's the type of thing you might look to see. Other schools might offer something along these lines that is appealing to you as well. Now, a little bit more on the nuts and bolts of tuition. Here's how it actually works, at least at Cincinnati. Half of your tuition is due in the fall semester, around August, and half of it is due in January. But you can set up a payment plan so that you take whatever tuition you owe in August and you can pay it in 3 installments. And you can do the same thing again in the winter semester. So I just want to make another comment about UC since we have these numbers up here. As you can see, our tuition is one of the lowest that I'm aware of for an LLM program in the United States. Here's why. We are committed to attracting LLM students from as many different countries in the world as possible. So when I mentioned that we have a small LLM program of maybe 15 to 25 students every year, we still have representation from at least 10 different countries every year. And we know that part of being able to put together a cohort like that is keeping our tuition as low as possible. To us, to our professors, to our staff and leadership at the University of Cincinnati College of Law, we are always so thrilled to bring LLM students into our learning community that we consider it a benefit to the college to have you with us and to have you. We think that LLM students make our college a better place for all of our students to study. So we've actually made an intentional decision to keep our tuition as low as possible and to offer scholarships to bring down the cost even further. If you are comparing between different LLM programs down the road, especially once you might have scholarship awards, we have a tool on our website that will allow you to compare costs. Takes into account tuition, living expenses, and any scholarship awards you have received. Other schools might have this too, but just tuck that idea away for down the road. You might want to find one of these tools that will help you mathematically compare the prices. Renata, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yes, I would like to tell, like, going a little bit, talking about the last slide,
Sure.
why I choose the LLM program. There is, like, I think LLM program in UC has like a smaller groups. Is really like a good. You have different focus. You can choose your classes and. I don't different big LLM classes. Normally they have a separate group classes for LLM. And one thing that I like so much about the UC, and is because you have the classes with the JD American students. This is really nice, and you get like a more integrated in the group. And talking about the financial conditions, I think UC has like a good. Uh, a good scholarship, and I think it's important to talk about the cost, because on top of everything that you're worried about, for me, in my experience, I didn't find like too many details about this thing, and it's something that you consider when you applying for LLM. How much are you expend, and how this thing should be like paid and everything, because when you apply for the visa, normally you need to show proof that you have the money to stay the whole year in US. And no one, like during my experience, I didn't have like a easy access to know like how to do the payment. And UC is really flexible with those things. Like Nora said, you can like spread the payments. And in terms of cost benefit, I think UC is like a really good in that. And I think if you're considering like to apply for LLM, you should consider this. Like Cincinnati doesn't have like a big expense cost. I don't think I spend that much during the year. You can find like apartments to rent from like a wide range of prices, and definitely get prepared for like the books. But the other stuff you can like choose. Cincinnati is definitely not expensive city to live. It's a really nice place. There's a bunch of stuff to do, a lot of social, but you don't need to worry about this part, I think.
Okay, thank you. Those are some really good points. Thank you for adding that. All right, so moving on. Once you get through thinking about the money, you'll want to go back to thinking about the fun part. Planning your experience. And I've touched on this in some of the other, related to some of the other slides, but LLM programs really are about more than just class. You will think about what classes are right for you. And as Renata mentioned, at some schools, LLM students take all of their classes only with other LLM students. So that's one approach. That might be one option. Maybe you like that idea. Look for a school that does that. There are other schools where LLM students are mixed in with JD students and they all take classes together. That's how we happen to do it at UC. So that's another style. It's another model, and you can look for that and ask about that as you're looking at different programs. Again, internships, which here's a strange word. At American law schools, we call internships externships. I don't know why, but we do. It's a made-up word. So if that's something that's interesting to you and you want to get to spend some time getting some work experience at an American law office, look for that and make sure that it's available to LLM students at the school that you're considering. Some schools make it available to LLMs and some do not. So there's that. We've talked a little bit about legal clinics. At UC, we have a clinic for the criminal law clinic I told you about. We also have a entrepreneurship or small business startup clinic that we have LLM students involved in that clinic every year. and they like it so much they try to go home and start clinics at their home universities in other countries. We also have a number of different journals or law review type experiences that LLM students can be involved in. Some LLM students come and they want to do something like a dissertation or a thesis. We don't require a thesis to earn your LLM, but watch for that because some schools will require that in their LLM programs and some don't. Again, it's just whatever works out best for you, but it's something to look for and it's a difference between programs. We certainly allow LLM students to do substantial research and writing projects. The way that we do it is that if an LLM student comes to me and says they want to do a research project, I find out what the topic is, and then I pair that student up with a professor who's an expert in that area to supervise their project. And then the student earns academic credit over the course of a semester preparing that written project. And of course, look for the student clubs and organizations that might interest you, because this is a great way to meet other LLM students, but also the JD students, the students who are doing a 3-year law degree. So clubs can be a really fun way to do that. The last thing I'll say about this slide is this quote that you can see up here from one of our graduates who was originally from Turkey, Elif. She did an externship at one of our courthouses in the help center, where she actually got to work directly with people who were coming into the courthouse every day and needed help with forms and procedures and things like that. She really enjoyed it. I want to make sure that I give Renata a chance to say something about this, especially because I remember that Renata had a pretty phenomenal externship experience.
Yes, I was hoping that you give me a spot to talk about it. So during the LLM, I was choosing to do the externship in the bankruptcy court due to my background with bankruptcy. So I was externing as a law clerk for the judge. The chief judge of bankruptcy court was pretty amazing. I helped to write some opinions and do some researches for the cases. I was able to be in court and watch a real trial. Was really awesome and an opportunity that is priceless. It was really interesting to see how the court in the United States works behind the scenes.
All right, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just a quick word about getting ready for class, because I think this could probably be another topic for another day that we could, spend a whole hour talking about. But, at this stage of your journey, as you're thinking about how to get ready for the academic component, my best advice to you is to read. Spend a lot of time reading in English. You can read some books about the American legal system if you want, but really any reading that you are doing in English will help you, because the faster you can read in English when you start the LLM, the easier time you will have in your classes. Renata, anything in particular about classes or preparing themselves to excel in our classes?
So I will not tell, in the beginning was not easy, but after a couple months you get used to it. The thing that Nora said, you need to read a lot, because this is what you'll be doing most of the time. And regarding to classes, I know that is a lot of information and I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but if you decide to pursue the LLM, you need to consider whether or not you want to take the bar exam, and maybe choose the classes that you want to take so you can get prepared. But this is something that you don't need to think right now. Need to something more after you choose your LLM that you want to go and you start thinking about classes. But definitely reading is really helpful to get in good shape for the classes.
All right, thank you, Renata. All right, so we're winding up here. The last slides that I have, just to end on a high note, are some pictures of students that were having fun in the LLM program. You know, LLM, studying law in the United States is a lot of hard work, but, and you should be prepared for that. And that's what you want. You want to be challenged, you want to learn, and all of that. But I hope that you'll find time to also make some friends and have some fun. So this is just a little bit of a window into some of those opportunities shared. These are just some examples. So here we have last year's LLM cohort I brought to the law school. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 judges. Court of Appeals judge, trial court judges. They're all friends of the law school. And so the judges enjoyed it as much as the students. So that's that. This picture over here is, we have an International Law Society, a student club, and they hosted a dinner where all of the students brought food from made things or purchased food, representative of their food from home. And so we all got together and could try these foods from all over the world. Lots of fun. Well, this picture here is actually before COVID. Every year I invite the LLM students and their families to my house for Thanksgiving dinner, the night before Thanksgiving. So my favorite part of that is that I don't know if you eat turkey where you are, if that's a traditional food, but for some of our LLM students, when they come and celebrate Thanksgiving with us, it's the first time that they have seen a whole roasted turkey come out of the oven. So it's one of the highlights of my year. And you know, our LLM students, as Renata was saying, enjoy doing things around Cincinnati. We also enjoy, we're always bringing in visitors, practicing attorneys, and this photo happens to be from my LLM class where we have an immigration lawyer who came to present. We have foreign partner universities. For example, we have good friends at a university in Bogota, Colombia, who come and teach for us every year. And so you get the idea. My advice along these lines is to look forward to this part. And when you start your LLM program, make sure you find a little time to participate in these types of experiences and have some fun. So Renata, anything you want to say about that?
I would say
Did you have any fun as an LLM student? Did you have any fun?
I can definitely say that I had fun. I can say that I have friends from Italy, Russia, Africa, what else? Afghanistan, China. I have like a countless friends from countless world that I don't think I would meet. Such a unique group. The Saudi Arabia as well. And one thing that I would say, like, I definitely find some time to make friends. People, all the students from the UC are really welcome. So we study hard. It's a lot of work, but also you can find time for some fun and enjoy Cincinnati.
Great. Well, that's what we have prepared today, but we're very happy to answer questions from all of you about the process or about how to choose an LLM program that's right for you. Katerina?
Yeah, thank you, Nora and Renata, for a wonderful presentation. And I think you covered like everything, almost everything. I do have questions of my own. So if we can go with this while we're waiting for the questions from the audience, I don't see any yet. Well, let's just start from the very beginning of the presentation. So you showed us the like standard package, application package that might be required from the law school. And you only mentioned one standardized test as a language test, TOEFL or IELTS, and you haven't mentioned other tests like LSAT tests. So does it mean that, would you recommend our students still prepare for the tests like LSAT tests if they want to apply in the future for the master's in law in the US?
So I have great news. No. You don't need to take the LSAT to be admitted to an LL.M program. Now, I can't make guarantees about what other schools. Maybe there are some U.S. law schools that ask for the LSAT even for the LL.M program. I am not aware of any. For the most part, LL.M programs do not require the law school admissions test. JD programs do. So, of course, just to make sure everybody knows, in the United States, the usual path to become a lawyer is we go to university for 4 years. We study anything we want. I studied international studies, bachelor's degree. Then I went to law school for 3 years to earn my JD. I had to take the LSAT, the law school admissions test, to be admitted to that 3-year JD program. One other thing maybe worth saying here while we're talking about the admissions test and the LL.M versus JD. Those of you who might be thinking that you long-term actually are interested in a JD, you have 2 options. You could either take the LSAT and apply directly to a JD program, or don't take the LSAT, do an LL.M program, and then apply to transfer from the LL.M program to the JD when you finish the LL.M. This option is available at many schools. It is available at Cincinnati. It may not be available at every school. So if it's something you're interested in, make sure you ask.
Thank you, Nora. Wonderful. I think it's very important information for those who are looking forward to study law in the US, because the system is like a little bit like, it's different than we have in Ukraine. Yes, absolutely. So again, for those who are looking forward and who are getting ready to apply for Masters in Law in the US, what would you recommend to focus on to boost their profile, to be successfully admitted to the School of Law? Or like, who has the best chance to get, like, for example, the fellowship in the University of Cincinnati School of Law? So how is it happening?
So we will look at the entire application package. So we'll look at your grades, the marks you earned in your undergraduate degree, your bachelor's degree. We will look at any work experience or internship experience you've had. We'll also want to talk to you. So we are always having one-on-one conversations with applicants. You can call it an interview, but really it's for your benefit as well, because we want you to know about us so that you can choose a program that's right for you. But talking to you also helps us understand whether you would be a good fit for a fellowship. The fellowships, because they're tied to specific work in specific areas, those are usually awarded to somebody who has some experience in that particular area, criminal law or human rights, either as a student who studied in that area or as a professional who worked in that area. Either one is fine. But so all of those things are important.
Well, thank you. How students can contact you or your school in case if they have questions or
see.
Is there any way? Oh, thank you so much. Yes, and please For those who want to keep those contacts on file, you can just make a screenshot and just send your questions to the university if you have any.
uc.edu.
Well, and I suppose your university has all information, necessary information for those who looking for application process requirements and for the information about the application and about the scholarships and the fellowships available at your school. Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right. So I think those are the questions we have for today. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Renata. Maybe Renata wants to say something just to encourage our students.
Yes, I would definitely encourage the students to apply for the LLM that you see. I loved my experience here in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a lovely city. You find like the most welcoming people. The professors are great. The course is like is smaller than other universities. What for me I think is a positive thing because you have like a more contact with the other students, with the professors. Also, we have like a big variety of topics that you can study. I came from business. I have interest in business law, and I choose to study those things. But I also have friends that are more inclined to criminal law or intellectual property, and everyone can find like good projects in the school. And I definitely would encourage people to research more about the LLM and UC and look careful and make sure that you're doing a good decision while you're looking for your LLM, and UC is a good opportunity for those who are, because just adding one thing, when you're moving to a different country, sometimes for me this is what I felt, you feel like it's easier to adapt if you have like a smaller community, so we have like a friends. I feel that everyone is close and I could count everyone as a family, like everyone want to make sure that you're doing great. The Nora is really like a look for after us, like the other professors in school and the students is really like an amazing opportunity. And I would tell like everyone that had this opportunity to do it, like not only the UC but the LLM is in general. And I love the UC, so I can speak that UC has an amazing program.
Thank you, Renata. Wonderful words. Thank you very much, Nora and Renata, again for your time and for the information. And I encourage everybody who's listening to us today and watching us today to pursue your dream and study and go to the US for the academic experience. Thank you so much, and have a nice evening, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday.